You've probably noticed something strange about the people who seem to effortlessly attract love. They have a certain lightness about them, an independence that somehow makes them irresistible. And then there are those who want love desperately, who've done all the inner work, who are genuinely good people. And yet, love keeps slipping through their fingers like water. What you're witnessing isn't a moral difference. It's not that one person deserves love more than another. What you're seeing is a frequency difference. And once you understand this mechanism, everything about your relationship patterns will suddenly make sense. Here's what most people don't realize. When you need love, you're broadcasting a very specific frequency into the field, not a metaphorical frequency, an actual energetic signature that shapes how reality responds to you. This frequency carries a message. I am incomplete. I require something outside myself to feel whole. There is a void in me that must be filled by another person. And here's the strange part. The quantum field doesn't judge this frequency as good or bad. It simply matches it. It responds to what you're radiating with mirror-like precision. Think about the last time you really needed someone to text you back. That anxious checking of your phone. That contraction in your chest. That story you kept telling yourself about what their silence meant. You were trapped in a state of collapse. Your nervous system in a pattern of seeking outside yourself for regulation. And no amount of positive thinking could override that state because the field doesn't respond to your thoughts. It responds to your state of being. Now, let me show you something that changed everything for me when I finally understood it. Quantum physics revealed something crucial through what's called the observer effect. The observer changes what's being observed, say, imply through the act of observation. The consciousness you bring to a situation literally shapes the possibilities that can emerge from it. When you observe potential relationships through the lens of need, through the consciousness of lack, you collapse the quantum field of possibilities into outcomes that match that frequency. You're not attracting unavailable people because you're unworthy. You're collapsing the wave function of potential connections into unavailability because that's the frequency signature you're emitting. Your consciousness isn't passive, it's creative. And in relationships, it's creating from whatever state you're occupying. If you're in a state of need, you create from need. If you're in a state of wholeness, you create from wholeness. The field is neutral. It simply gives you more of what you are. You've been told 1,000 times to love yourself first. And maybe you've tried. Maybe you've done the affirmations and the mirror work and the self-care Sundays. But here's what most people miss. Self-love, practiced as a strategy to get love, is still operating from need. It's still the ego trying to manipulate reality into filling a perceived void. The field can feel the difference between genuine wholeness and strategic self-improvement designed to attract a partner. One is an authentic frequency, the other is a disguised need wearing the costume of self-love. I'm not saying self-love is useless. I'm saying the motivation behind it determines whether it's transformative or performative. When you love yourself because you've recognized your inherent completeness, that's one frequency. When you love yourself so that someone else will finally love you, that's a completely different frequency. And the field responds accordingly. So what does genuine non-need actually look like? Because this is where people get confused. They think becoming a magnet for love means pretending they don't want it, building walls, playing games, becoming emotionally unavailable as a strategy. But that's just need wearing a different mask. That's the ego trying to protect itself from the vulnerability of wanting, and the field sees right through it. Genuine non-need is something else entirely. It's a specific state of being where you become what I call a closed energetic circuit. You're complete unto yourself. Not because you've forced yourself to stop wanting connection, but because you've remembered something fundamental. You are already whole. Love isn't something that completes you, it's something that two whole people create together. And paradoxically, this is when you become most magnetically attractive to others. Think about it. Who draws you in more? The person who needs you to validate their existence, or the person who's genuinely content in their own being and would simply enjoy your company? The person radiating desperation, or the person radiating fullness? You already know the answer. And so does everyone else. We're all responding to these frequencies, whether we're conscious of it or not. Now here's where it gets interesting from a neuroscience perspective. Your autonomic nervous system has been conditioned to associate love with survival. If you experienced inconsistent caregiving as a child, your nervous system learned that love is unpredictable and you must constantly work to maintain it. If you experienced abandonment, your system learned that people leave and you're fundamentally alone. These aren't just psychological patterns. They're embedded in your nervous system as survival programs, and they run automatically beneath conscious awareness. When you encounter potential romantic situations, these programs activate. Your system goes into anxious attachment-seeking regulation from the other person, or avoidant attachment, protecting itself from the vulnerability of need. And all of this happens before your conscious mind even has a chance to choose a response. You're operating from conditioning, from a nervous system that's trying to keep you safe but is actually creating the exact patterns you're trying to avoid. So the shift from needing love to being a magnet for it isn't just mental. It's not about changing your thoughts or your beliefs. It's about regulation at the nervous system level. It's about teaching your body that you are safe in your own presence, that you can provide for yourself the regulation you've been seeking from others. That wholeness isn't something you achieve by finding the right person. It's your natural state when the nervous system isn't in survival mode. Let me be clear about something, because this is where people often misunderstand what I'm saying. Detachment from outcome is not the same as emotional suppression. Many people confuse genuine detachment with not allowing themselves to feel, with building walls around their heart, with pretending they don't want love when they actually do. This creates a different kind of energetic blockage, one that looks like strength, but is actually a sophisticated form of protection. True detachment means you're not attached to a specific outcome for your sense of okayness. You can want partnership. You can desire connection. You can have preferences and move toward what you want, but your fundamental okayness doesn't depend on getting it. You're whole, whether it happens or not. And this wholeness, this genuine okayness, is what creates the magnetic field that naturally attracts aligned connections. The field responds to state, not story. You can affirm and visualize all you want. You can repeat, "I am worthy of love," 10,000 times. You can create vision boards and do rituals and manifestation practices. But if your underlying nervous system state is broadcasting, "I'm incomplete without you," that's the frequency the field will match. Your state is your signal, and your signal creates your reality. This is why two people can use the exact same manifestation technique and get completely different results. It's not the technique that matters, it's the state from which you're applying the technique. If you're trying to manifest love from a state of lack, you're just amplifying the lack. If you're creating from a state of wholeness, even simply existing here, that state is enough. The manifestation becomes almost irrelevant because you're already fulfilled. So how do you actually make this shift? How do you move from need-based consciousness to magnetic wholeness? Let me give you something practical, something you can begin implementing immediately after this video. The fullness practice. Several times throughout your day, pause, whatever you're doing. Close your eyes if you're in a space where that's possible. Take a deep breath and then ask yourself this question. What would it feel like right now if I needed absolutely nothing from anyone? Not as a concept, not as an idea, as a felt experience in your body. What would it feel like to be completely sufficient unto yourself in this moment? Drop into that feeling. Let your nervous system experience what wholeness feels like. Not wholeness because you got something or achieved something or someone validated you. Wholeness as your natural state. Wholeness because you exist. At first, this might feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Your nervous system is used to seeking. It's used to the tension of wanting, genuine rest, genuine sufficiency. That can actually feel strange when you're not accustomed to it. Stay with it anyway. Breathe into it. Let your body learn this new baseline. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, just experiencing what it's like to need nothing. And here's what starts to happen. Your nervous system begins to regulate itself. The anxious seeking starts to quiet. The patterns of collapse around potential partners start to loosen. You're teaching your system at a fundamental level that you are safe in your own presence. And as this becomes your baseline state, something shifts in how you show up in the world. You'll know you've made this shift when certain things start happening in your internal experience and external reality. Specific markers that indicate the frequency change has occurred. First, you'll notice you're less reactive to whether someone texts back or not. Not because you've forced yourself not to care, but because you're genuinely okay either way. Your okayness isn't dependent on their response. This isn't indifference, it's freedom. Second, you'll start attracting different types of people. Or more accurately, the same types of people who used to trigger your need patterns will stop being interested because they can feel you're no longer available for those dynamics. And people who are themselves whole and available will start appearing in your field, like attracts like. Frequency attracts matching frequency. Third, you'll notice a subtle but profound shift in how you feel in your body. There's a settledness, a groundedness, an absence of that low-grade anxiety that used to accompany thoughts about relationships. You're no longer in a state of seeking. You're in a state of being. And from this state, genuine connection becomes possible in a way it never was when you were operating from need. Now, here's something important. You can still desire partnership. You can still have preferences. You can still move toward connection. The key is understanding the difference between wanting from wholeness versus needing from emptiness. Wanting is an expansion. This would be wonderful to experience. Needing is a contraction. I'm not okay until this happens. Can you feel the difference in your body when you read those two statements? That felt difference is the frequency difference, and that's what the field responds to. When you want from wholeness, you're creating from abundance. You're saying to the universe, Danya, I'm already full and I'd love to share this fullness with someone. That's magnetic. That's attractive. That draws in people who are also creating from abundance. When you need from emptiness, you're creating from lack. You're saying, I require this to be okay. And that pushes away the very thing you're seeking, or attracts people who will mirror that lack back to you. The paradox is that you have to be willing to be alone, genuinely okay with it, not just tolerating it, to create the space for genuine partnership. Because partnership isn't about finding someone to complete you, it's about two complete people choosing to create something together. And you can't create from wholeness if you haven't first embodied wholeness on your own. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you have to have everything figured out. Wholeness isn't about having no wounds or needs. It's about knowing that your fundamental okayness isn't dependent on another person meeting those needs. You can be in process and still be whole. You can be healing and still be whole. Wholeness isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a recognition of what's already true. Let me tell you what happens when you really get this. When you've shifted from the frequency of need to the frequency of magnetic wholeness, you stop chasing. Not because you've forced yourself to stop, but because the impulse to chase disappears. You stop analyzing every interaction, wondering if it means they like you. You stop performing, trying to be what you think they want. You just are: present, grounded, available but not desperate, interested but not attached. And from this state, relationships start to unfold differently. Conversations feel easier because you're not trying to control the outcome. Dates feel lighter because you're not auditioning for the role of their partner. You're just seeing if there's genuine resonance, and if there's not, you're okay. Your world doesn't collapse. You don't create stories about what it means about you. You simply move on, still whole, still magnetic, still open. This is what it means to become a magnet for love. Not through manipulation, not through strategy, not through pretending you don't care when you do, through genuine embodiment of your own sufficiency, through nervous system regulation that creates a baseline state of okayness regardless of external circumstances, through remembering that you are already complete, and love is something you share, not something you need to become whole. The work isn't about getting someone to love you. The work is about releasing the belief that you need someone to love you to be okay. And paradoxically, and you release that need, when you genuinely embody your own wholeness, you become magnetic in a way that no amount of trying ever created. Because you're no longer radiating lack, you're radiating fullness, and fullness attracts, fullness creates. Fullness opens possibilities that need could never access. This isn't about becoming cold or unavailable. It's not about building walls or protecting yourself from vulnerability. It's about becoming so full of your own essence, so grounded in your inherent completeness, that love becomes something you share rather than something you seek to complete yourself. And when you meet someone from that place, when two whole people recognize each other, that's when real partnership becomes possible. Not the kind built on mutual need and unconscious patterns, but the kind built on conscious choice and genuine resonance. The frequency you're looking for isn't out there. It's not in the perfect person or the right situation or the magical timing. The frequency you're looking for is available right now, in this moment, in your own being. It's the frequency of wholeness, of sufficiency, of being so complete in yourself that love becomes an overflow rather than a requirement. And that frequency, that state of being is what makes you truly magnetic. Not to everyone, but to the ones who matter, to the ones who are themselves whole and ready to create from wholeness rather than need. So stop chasing, stop performing, stop trying to be enough for someone else, start being enough for yourself, not as a strategy to get love, but as a recognition of what's already true. You are already whole, you are already complete, you are already worthy, not because of what you've achieved or who wants you or how you've perfected yourself, simply because you exist. And when you really get that, when you embody that at the nervous system level, everything changes, not just in relationships, but in your entire experience of being alive. That's the shift. That's the frequency. That's what makes you magnetic. Not need, not desperation, not trying, just being fully, completely, unapologetically yourself.